Now to the events of the day. Hillary Clinton met with Senator Elizabeth Warren following, of course, that endorsement last night from Elizabeth Warren. And it's all fueling speculation about maybe Warren being the VP presidential pick. Warren and Clinton, of course, have had their share of disagreements, but some experts say that Warren could bring that much-needed far-left support and enthusiasm that follows the Bernie Sanders camp. Joining me now to discuss, Adam Goodman, Danielle, McLaughlin, Mercedes Schlapp, and Gina Loudon. Mercedes, let me go to you because, you know, last night, those on the far left actually were pretty upset with Elizabeth Warren, saying that she sold out. Of course, she's extremely against Wall Street. Wall Street's connection with Hillary Clinton hanging over her like a dark cloud.
Well, I got to tell you, Elizabeth Warren has carved her niche in the Senate by going after Wall Street and the financial industries, which again goes against with what Hillary Clinton, basically her cozy relationship with Wall Street. I don't necessarily see, I know we all get excited about who the VP is going to be, and I know they're talking about Elizabeth Warren because the possibility of her bringing in the left, but I got to tell you, Hillary Clinton is very popular amongst liberals when you look at the poll numbers. We're talking about trying to get these Bernie Sanders supporters, but for Hillary, she's thinking, I need to get my independence. I can maybe carve out some of these Clinton Republicans that are so disenchanted with their own party, and she's hoping that the left, the far left, will just join on to the Clinton train, which I think is a possibility, and I don't think necessarily she will need Elizabeth Warren to help her achieve that goal.
But you know, though, Gina, last night Donald Trump tweeted, Pocahontas at it again. Goofy Elizabeth Warren, one of the least productive U.S. senators, has a nasty mouth, and she hopes to be VP. This, of course, after she unleashed on him in a speech last night. Maybe she won't be VP, but from what I'm seeing is she's the only one on the Democratic side who's willing to try to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, particularly in these crazy Twitter wars.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Charles. These feminists have a real problem. Following up on a story that you covered on your show yesterday about the glass ceiling being sort of non-existent, about women making more than men, about the average man making far less and having less money than they did in 1973. That story you covered yesterday. When Hillary is surrounding herself as a woman already with the likes of Elizabeth Warren, I just don't know that this whole gender narrative is really going to work out for them in the long run when the evidence isn't there, and I'm afraid the public is going to catch on to it. So I really don't see this being the best choice that Hillary could make.
Well, Danielle, you're a Hillary supporter. I mean, you had a good week. You had a great week.
You had a great week.
The polls have reversed. She's got a small lead within the margin of error, but she seems to have some wind in her sails. How does she keep it going from here?
Well, you need in a VP pick, you need an attack dog, and you need someone who's going to build a bridge to the constituencies that you can't reach all by yourself. You're looking to broaden the ticket. And I think that Hillary Clinton has issues with white males. She has issues clearly in swing states. She has issues with youth. And so when she's thinking about who the VP pick is going to be, she needs to think about addressing all of those weaknesses so her ticket is as broad as it possibly can be.
But is there someone that fits the bill?
Well, she's looking at people like Cory Booker. There are obviously politicians from West Virginia, Ohio, some of these swing states. We have some senior senators that she's thinking about. Bernie Sanders' name is thrown in there. Personally, I'm not sure if that's going to work, but we'll see. She has a lot of people to choose from, I think, which is very different from the other side, where Republicans, I think, Donald Trump might have more issues finding a VP than Clinton will.
But I think you would agree that the VP pick probably more important for Hillary Clinton because of that lack of enthusiasm.
You know, they both need people who bring things that they don't currently have. So you're right, there is an enthusiasm gap. There are issues with her, with basically her appeal in some sectors. Trump doesn't have a lot of depth in policy, depth in issues, so he needs someone, frankly, who's maybe more from the establishment.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that as well. By the way, your accent, can you vote in this election?
I'm working on it. I am working on it. The paperwork is underway.
Hey, Adam, again, Hillary's had a pretty good week. There's no doubt about that. But some people think she should have had a much better week.
Well, yeah, this was obviously a piece of history. As we saw, the first woman essentially nominated to be president of the United States. That's the power of that. The downside for Hillary is she gave a foreign policy speech that was full of venom towards Donald Trump and very light in terms of explaining some of the actions that she was responsible for. It's the same week when we had that jobs report, Charles, that was anything but encouraging and a shot in the arm for the American public that's looking for something to cheer about again. And of course, that nasty little, nagging problem with the Inspector General, the FBI, and others looking into her past. It should have been a better week, and it's unfortunate that we're doing all of this at this moment on the heels of what led into this interview, where we saw on display there, Charles, the power of passion and commitment with Muhammad Ali, the power of greatness. And I don't think that Hillary Clinton yet has come close to measuring up there, and I think that's what the American people are looking for.
That's a great point, Mercedes. Hillary, of course, is playing up the historical angle of this. I thought the night, the Tuesday night when she was in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Navy Yards, I was a little surprised she came out first and foremost with the woman's card. She had avoided it in 2008, but a lot of folks saying that's her strongest suit. She wants to build on it, and if Danielle's right, she's got a slim chance of maybe getting some of these other portions or segments of the voters that have rejected her anyway.
Sure. Well, I think the woman vote is definitely an important constituency for Hillary Clinton. When you're looking at the gap that exists right now, Clinton is over Trump with about double digits in terms of having the woman support. And so we also know that over 50% of women vote in a general election. So it's not surprising to me that she's going to use this woman historic card that she has. The question becomes that you have these young women, right? And where did the young women go? The Democratic women. They went with Bernie Sanders. They play with a different set of rules. They don't necessarily vote based on gender. They vote on the candidate. And so I think that there is not necessarily that strong appeal with the younger women who are questioning Hillary Clinton, her scandalous past and present record. And so I think that for Hillary just to say, wow, I am woman, hear me roar, that speech alone is not going to be enough to necessarily secure, especially the younger women that are not necessarily impressed with the fact that she's the first woman presidential candidate.
All right, guys, let's leave it right there. Coming up, Bill Clinton, check this out. He was making millions of dollars as honorary chancellor of a college that was receiving funding from the State Department under Hillary's watch. You know about Trump, you. We're going to talk about Clinton, you.